I don't usually think about that Thanksgiving night unless something forces it back into my mind. Even now, when I replay the moments in the correct order, it still feels unreal, like something that should have happened to someone else. But it didn't. It happened to me, and the memory has a way of sticking its fingers in the back of my throat when I try to swallow it down. 2 years ago, I was 19, sick with one of those winter viruses that everyone seemed to pass around. The fever was gone, but I couldn't stop coughing. Talking felt like scraping sandpaper across my vocal cords. I should have been in bed, but I had made a promise to a friend from work, an older cat who needed medication twice a day while she traveled for the holiday. But the real reason I pushed myself out that night was because earlier that week, I had told another friend I'd grab my old tennis rackets and bowling ball from my dad's place. We'd played competitively in high school and missed it. My dad lived outside the city, and I rarely visited anymore, so this Thanksgiving was my only chance for months. I was sick, but determined. Determination is such a stupid, blinding thing when it mixes with youth. I took the light rail toward my dad's town, met up briefly with my brother, grabbed my equipment, then headed back. By the time I got off the train again, bowling ball, rackets, leftovers, and my exhausted lungs, it was a little past 9 p.m. The bus I needed to get to my friend's apartment was scheduled to arrive any minute. Apple Maps claimed it was 1 minute away, then delayed, then next bus, 15 minutes, then back to 1 minute, on repeat. I sat alone at the stop, shivering in my puffer jacket, coughing every few seconds and hugging the bowling ball bag against my leg. The entire street was deserted, stores were closed. The quiet had that hollow Thanksgiving night feeling, like the world had closed its eyes and I'd been forgotten outside. Then a car rolled up to the curb across from me. At first, I didn't pay attention. It was full of guys around my age or slightly older, talking loudly in another language and laughing. I assumed they were dropping one of their friends off to catch a train. One guy stepped out. The car drove away. I kept my distance from the benches since I didn't want to cough all over anyone, but he walked across the empty platform and sat directly next to me. That was the first thing that made my stomach tighten. Not out of fear, just confusion. There were at least 4 empty benches. Maybe he didn't care. Maybe he didn't notice. I tried to explain it away. For a few minutes, nothing happened. I just kept watching the bus arrival time glitch around like it was mocking me. And then, something touched my shoulder. Before I could even process it, his arm slid firmly, almost confidently, around me. My breathing hitched, my mind blanked. I didn't even turn my head, I just froze. With a hoarse whisper, he asked if I was okay. I forced out a rasp that I was fine and waiting for the bus. He kept his arm there a moment longer before returning to his seat. I tried convincing myself that maybe he noticed me swaying when I leaned out to check for headlights. Maybe he thought I was dizzy from being sick. Maybe. My brain kept trying to invent excuses because the alternative was terrifying. But then he did it again. Slid right up against me, draped his arm around my shoulders, and this time, he stroked my back. Slow, familiar, like we knew each other. The bandana-style face covering he wore only added to how surreal it felt. Barely anyone wore them anymore, but he kept his pulled high, covering half his face and his neck. I didn't react, I didn't fight. My coughing made talking difficult, and we were alone. No witnesses, no cameras pointed toward this side of the platform. This man was over 6 feet tall and much heavier than me. Picking a fight wasn't an option. I just waited for the bus. When it pulled in, I tried to slip out of his grip. He turned his head, said something low and unintelligible, but the tone made it clear he intended to get on with me. Inside the bus, I didn't sit. I stood right near the front where I knew he'd have to pick a seat because of his size. I felt him enter behind me, hovering, watching, always watching. My lungs and throat burned from panic and sickness. I couldn't call anyone without alerting him. I messaged my friend instead, explaining the situation as best I could. I planned my next steps while pretending to scroll. I could not let him know where my friend lived. I could not risk leading him to her apartment. And worst of all, I kept thinking about the group of men who had dropped him off. Were they waiting somewhere? Would he message them? Was I being followed as part of something bigger? Work. Work was the only safe place. The stop before my friend's apartment was the outdoor mall where the restaurant I worked at sat in the center. Stores closed at 9, but staff stayed for cleaning. Security patrolled every corner. Cameras were everywhere. If I could just get to the employee back door, I'd be safe. When we got off the bus, he stepped off too, instantly reaching for me, gripping my shoulder like he owned it, like it belonged to him. He guided, no, steered me. I kept my steps steady, slow. I didn't run. Running would trigger him. Running could get me grabbed, dragged, shoved into a car, disappeared forever. The last stretch before the employee entrance felt like walking through a nightmare in slow motion. My arms were heavy with the bag and rackets, my breath shallow from sickness, my pulse loud enough to drown out everything else. But when we rounded the corner, there they were. One of our chefs and a co-worker stood in the trash enclosure, talking with the back door propped open. A miracle. His grip loosened, barely, just enough. I slid away and bolted. I don't even remember what noise came out of me when I tried to warn them. Something breathless and broken. But my co-worker saw the terror on my face and slammed the door shut. Seconds later, bang! The handle jerked violently. Then again. He pounded on the metal, rattling it like he expected it to break. We called mall security. The man wandered around the storefront, pacing, looking through the windows, waiting, watching. At one point, he walked into the ice cream shop across from us and lingered there, standing unnervingly still, just looking toward the restaurant. Security showed up. He vanished as quickly as he'd appeared. I went to check on my friend's cat with a co-worker escorting me the whole way. Then she drove me home. Days later, security asked if I wanted to press charges. I said I wasn't sure. I just wanted to know who he was. I never heard back. No name, no explanation, no closure. And I had almost forgotten about it, buried it, until this year when that same friend asked me if I could watch her cat again for Thanksgiving. I didn't realize how much a single visit could change the way I think about someone I grew up with, or how a place could feel wrong before anything bad even happens, like the air itself was hinting at something you weren't supposed to see. This happened 2 winters ago in early December. My childhood friend Scott invited me up to the mountains to stay at his late grandparents' place, an old wooden home set on the side of a steep hill. He said it'd be nostalgic, a boys' weekend. The snow made everything feel peaceful, he claimed. Peaceful wasn't the word I'd use now. Driving up the mountain alone was eerie enough. The roads were quiet. Snow drifted across my headlights in thick waves. By the time I reached his driveway, the world outside was pitch black except for the pale glow of his porch light. He came out to greet me, waving stiffly. Right away, something was off. Scott didn't seem like Scott. His voice was slower, his expressions delayed, his movements slightly disjointed. Inside, the house felt hollow. Not empty in the physical sense, just emotionally vacant. The hallway across from the couch was long, narrow, and unlit, with several open doors that looked like open mouths leading into pitch-black rooms. I didn't like that hallway. The first night, I chalked up Scott's odd behavior to loneliness. Maybe he wasn't used to people anymore, but when I woke up around 2 a.m. to rapid footsteps sprinting across the upstairs floor, fast, heavy steps that seemed far too frantic to be normal, I sat upright on the pull-out bed. It went on for 20 seconds. Then absolute stillness. No door creaked. No movement followed, just sudden, complete silence. The next morning, Scott acted like nothing had happened. The second day only confirmed the unease growing in my stomach. He barely spoke. He'd stare too long at nothing. When I asked if he was okay, he'd nod mechanically without meeting my eyes. But the hallway, he walked down it 5 separate times throughout the day. He never closed the doors. He never turned on lights. That night, a snowstorm hit so hard the house shook. I fell asleep to the sound of wind, only to wake again around 2 a.m., throat dry, skin cold. This time I heard a soft dragging noise, slow, steady, somewhere deep in the dark of that hallway. I didn't investigate. I rolled over, squeezing my eyes shut, telling myself old houses make weird noises. It worked for one more night. But the third night, that's when everything changed. Somewhere around 2 a.m. Again, I woke up fully conscious but unable to move. My eyes snapped open, but my body was frozen. My lungs felt trapped. I had heard of sleep paralysis, but nothing prepares you for it. The hallway was dark, quiet, still, but not empty. A figure stood at the very end, tall, motionless, arms hanging at its sides. Just an outline against the darkness. Scott, or something shaped like him. He stood there for what felt like an eternity. My heart hammered so violently I wondered if I'd pass out. I tried to breathe, to speak, to twitch even a finger. Nothing worked. Then, slowly, he turned to the side and walked into the guest room at the far end, the one with the door that had always been wide open. He disappeared without a sound. When my body finally jerked back under my control, I shot upright, drenched in sweat. I whispered his name. Nothing. Against all logic, I forced myself to stand and walk toward the guest room. My legs trembled with each step. Inside, the faint moonlight from the window revealed a shape standing in the corner, facing outward, still, silent. Someone was in that room. Someone who wasn't supposed to be in the house. I backed out slowly, shaking so hard the floor creaked. Then I sprinted upstairs to Scott's actual bedroom and burst inside. He was asleep, genuinely asleep. Shaking him awake, I whispered what I saw. He blinked slowly, confused, irritated, almost offended that I'd drag him out of sleep. Then, something changed in his expression. A tiny shift. Fear, recognition, guilt. He didn't answer, didn't look toward the hallway, didn't move. When I asked him who was downstairs, he just shrugged. Not dismissively, not confused, just resigned. That was enough. I didn't care about the snowstorm or the late hour. I ran downstairs, packed my bag with shaking hands, and looked only once toward the hallway, half expecting the figure to be standing there again. Outside, the cold slapped my face. I scraped snow off the windshield and sped down the mountain. But right before I left the driveway, I glanced back at the house. There was a silhouette standing in the window of the hallway's guest room, watching me leave. I never went back. Scott responded to one text days later, just 2 words. I'm fine. Nothing else. I don't know who or what was in that house with us, and I don't think Scott lived there alone.